Hey guys, so I've got a tank top on today, which means that we are going to be talking about my tattoos. Now, I don't really have too many at this point, but the main reason why I wanted to do this video is because over the last year, I've been getting my left arm filled in, and as I've gone through the process of getting this done, I've been posting about it here and there on my social media feeds. And a lot of you have been following along with my progress as I go, also commenting about it in my covers as I get each part of my arm filled in. So because of that, some of you have requested for me to go through sort of why I got what I got, where I got it done, stuff like that. That's what we're going to talk about here today. As part of this video though, I'm going to catch you up to speed on sort of all of the tattoos I have. I do have a couple other just little small ones that I got before I started on my left arm. Alright, I'm going to take you through each piece in the chronological order in which I got them. So I'll start with the one that I got at 18 and then we'll go on through. So the first tattoo I got was here on my right rib cage. This tattoo is actually lyrics from Asking Alexandria's A Prophecy. The tattoo reads, "How stubborn are those scars when they won't fade away, or just a gentle reminder that now are better days." I got that tattoo at 18. I got it not only because I absolutely love Asking Alexandria, as you all know. They were a huge influence for me, on me, growing up through high school and playing drums and getting into metal. They were one of the bands that sort of introduced me to metalcore and got me so in love with the genre. So not only did I get that tattoo for those reasons, but the lyrics really resonated with me because of where I was at the time of my life. At the age of 15, I posted my first drum cover. And at that point in my life, I had decided that music was going to be the rest of my life. And I was going to take on drumming as a career going forward. So at that point too, I didn't have a whole lot of friends in high school. I spent most of my time just sort of skipping class and sitting at my drum set in the basement. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to sort of reinvent myself. And I did that by changing my name actually. So my real name, my first name is actually Matthew. My middle name is Wyatt. At that age of 16, I decided I'm gonna go by Wyatt as my new name. And it wasn't just like changing my name because it was a cool stage name or anything like that. It was kind of like a reinvention of myself, like a fresh start. Along with changing my name, I sort of redid all of my social media pages. I built a website at the time called WyattStav.com. I started uploading videos to YouTube and I was getting way more involved with bands and trying to branch out of high school and just focus on music. And these lyrics in this song really, in a lot of ways to me, captivated sort of that feeling of how I was transitioning into this new identity for myself and this new lifestyle, this new direction that I had taken on for myself and the goals that were oriented with that. So this tattoo really meant a lot to me. I got it at 18. I wanted to get it at 16, but I had to wait till 18 till I was of age to get tattoos here in Canada. That's just how it works. I got it done in a basement. It wasn't very professional. I think I paid like $100 for it. So yeah, that's my first tattoo. All right, cool. So the second smaller little tattoo I got was this triangle on my back. This was really just on impulse. Some of you probably recognize this from the 30 Seconds to Mars, This Is War album art. Jared Leto has that triangle tattooed on his forearms. When their documentary came out on the making of This Is War, I just watched that video on repeat. 30 Seconds to Mars had a really big influence on me. Not so much as a drummer, but I was just really into their music for a really long time, and this was just a tattoo because I like the band. Nothing really more than that. It was super impulsive too. I literally got off work one day and just drove to the tattoo place near the mall that I was working at and got it done. So I don't know, yeah, just impulsive. All right, so the next tattoo I got after that guy, that triangle I got at, I don't remember what age I was. I want to say I was either 18 or 19. I think I just turned 19 when I got that one done. Anyways, so the next tattoo I got was this one here on the back of my neck. This reads homesick. My brother moved to Japan when I was younger. I think I was 19. I really missed him, so I got in katakana, I got homesick on the back of my neck. I actually asked him to like, can you please write out what homesick would be in katakana so I can get this, and then he wrote it out, and then he showed me how to like figure out the characters on my iPad for like switching fonts, not fonts, but like the language keyboard. And then I just took that to the studio and said like, slap that on the back of my neck real quick, and that was just like a walk-in that happened right after he left. Okay, cool. So this next tattoo, there's one more before we're on to my sleeve, but this next tattoo is a skeleton key. This tattoo is actually part of a set. The other one, my girlfriend Lindsay has on her ribcage in the same place, and she has a heart-shaped lock to go along with this. She actually got us these tattoos for my 22nd birthday. So April of 2017, I got that guy done. Cool, so that's it for those small little pieces. Before I get exactly into what I got done and why and the timeline for this guy, I wanted to shout out my artist. For this entire piece, I went to Sebastian at ChronicInk here in Toronto, Canada. I went to the ChronicInk location at Yonge and Gerrard. So in the description of this video, you can find links to Sebastian's social media, and you can also find links to the shop in which I got this piece done. I had an incredible experience at ChronicInk. Every piece up until my sleeve was done at different tattoo studios. Of all of those studios though, I can say by far that ChronicInk was the best studio, the most professional, the most friendly, the most clean, well organized, and it just had this overall feeling of legitimacy to it. I really enjoyed getting tattooed at the studio, and I really enjoyed spending time with Sebastian. So you can check out links to ChronicInk, their website, their social media in the description below, along with direct links to Sebastian's social media. Sebastian does tattoo mostly out of that Yonge and Gerrard location here in Toronto, Canada. However, I know for a fact that he does travel quite a bit to South America and to Europe, and he does guest spots at different studios around those continents when he's over there. Oftentimes too, he'll just have in his bio next place he's traveling to and where he's going to be guest spotting. So if you are in an area where he's coming to and you want to get some tattoos done, make sure to book with him before those spots all fill up. All right, sweet. So let's get into what I got, when I got it, and why. So the very first session on this sleeve I got at the beginning of this year, 2018. I think my first appointment was in January. It was like January 13th or something like that. We started by laying down the lines on my biceps. So we did the whole Grim Reaper top part here. So that was it for my first session. Every session has been about at least 8 hours, and going in and doing my full outer part of my bicep for 8 hours was the longest I'd ever sat for a tattoo. Up until that point, all the other little small guys were like an hour, maybe two at very most. Like usually it's like 45 minutes to an hour with those smaller ones. I didn't find this too difficult to sit for. It was just line work, and it was the upper outside of my bicep, so nothing too sensitive. Coming off that first session, the second session we revisited the same piece and he just filled it all in. It was all line work, and then he just did all the shading and put in the rest of the black here on the cloak for the Grim Reaper and everything else that needed to be sort of filled in. My third session, we started on the lower half of my arm, specifically with the two-headed raven here. This is a two-headed raven holding a dead rat in its talons. So at this point, I'll mention why I got the Reaper and the Raven and what it symbolizes to me. It doesn't really mean anything. Basically, I've always just had in my head since I was younger and like observing and looking at tattoos and wanting tattoos, I've had some things that I wanted. I always knew that I wanted a Reaper. I always knew that I wanted a Raven, stuff like that. The theme for the arm is kind of that of death, because we have a dead rat, we have a two-headed Raven, we have a human skull on the inside of my bicep, and then of course there's the Grim Reaper with the Plague Doctor mask on. So just like a very like sort of death and decay type theme to it. But does it have any like actual meaning to me? No, it doesn't really hold a whole lot of meaning to me. I just wanted something that I've been drawn to for years and that feels right sitting on my skin. All right, so yeah, like I was saying, the third session was the Raven. We did the rat, the Raven, and then at that point, it was not really colored in. I think he managed to get the top half of the Raven all filled in, but then the wings were empty. And the wings were empty for a little bit. We had a couple months until my next session. So after the Raven, my fourth session came along, and we sort of finished the forearm section of my arm. He put in this giant mandala as a background for the Raven, and he also finished the Raven. He filled in the wings and he filled in the rat, and everything had been done at that point for that part of the arm. At that point too though, because we sort of did the top outside and then moved to the bottom, I didn't have anything done on my bicep yet, and I didn't have any of the clouds in through my elbow that sort of connects the two pieces. So they were very sort of disconnected. We kind of had this upper bicep and then we had this lower forearm wrap. So yeah, that was what that guy looked like. It's actually funny, if you watch any of my covers, the end screen where I go, I'm like, hey, I hope you enjoyed that video. Like, click the links, blah, blah, whatever. If you watch that, you'll notice that was sort of the section in time. I filled that end screen during that section, because you can see in that video, that end screen video, that there is nothing in the bicep and none of the clouds have been put in just yet. Cool, so on to my fifth session. My fifth session, we actually did this in here. He put the entire mandala and all the skull. The fifth session is when it really started to come together and start to feel like, and look like a sleeve. He did some of the cloud work back in here. He did some of the cloud work. He actually put that in during that session, but we didn't get all of it done. It was a very long session. The fifth was for sure the hardest. This was a very, very sensitive area for me, especially when we got up into my armpit. He did go pretty close to my armpit. I mean, technically part of it is in my armpit, so that really killed me. I complained a lot on the table that day. So yeah, by the fifth, it had pretty much been, this is a sleeve, and it was looking a lot better at that point. The fifth was very recent too. It was within the last 2 or 3 months. Then after that, the final session came along, and we were at the sixth session. So we'd taken a full year at this point. The sixth session session I think was 2 weeks ago, and we started January of 2018, so it had been 11 months in all. And yeah, we finally wrapped on this guy. So for the 6th session, what he did was he went back through the Raven and he darkened the wings on both sides because we just felt that it wasn't standing out on top of the mandala well enough, that it kind of got lost in the mandala and we wanted more of a contrast there. So he went back for me and filled that all in, filled in the rest of the clouds here in through my ditch. The clouds in my ditch weren't too bad. They didn't hurt very much. It was a shorter session too, which really helps. What really sucked in my ditch though was all this black on the Grim Reaper's cloak. That really sucked. The last thing he did too on that session was, you can't tell, it's really subtle, but there is actually white ink on the teeth of this skull, as well as some white ink around like the nostril cavity on the skull, which when it was fresh looked really sweet. It's faded a little bit now, but it's still there. It looks really great. I liked how he added that. It just kind of like made it pop a little bit more out from the mandala that's sort of behind it. But yeah, so that looks sweet. My favorite part of the sleeve is definitely the Grim Reaper. I absolutely love the Grim Reaper here at the top. I really like back here too, where the two mandalas meet. The texture back there and the way they fade into one another just looks really sweet to me. I really like that about it. So yeah, that pretty much sums up this guy. Let me know in the comment section of what you think about my sleeve and how it looks and how it all came together in the end. Once again, shout out to Sebastian. Make sure you guys check out his page, follow him on Instagram. So the reason we didn't go right to my wrist, it wasn't actually intended, it was sort of just happy accident that this happened. And then what Sebastian brought up was, why don't we save that part for like a hand piece that starts up here in that empty space on the wrist and then flows all the way to hand. And I really loved that idea. I thought that that would be like the best way to cap off the sleeve and have it flow into one another really well. So having the sleeve sort of flow into the hand and everything be very like congruent and solid with each other. So yeah, that's why we did that. And that's why I've kept that blank, that little portion on my wrist. The next session I'll be doing though, we'll be back with Sebastian getting that hand filled in, as well as the rest of my wrist here. The only thing is, my idea originally was I was gonna get a human skull on my hand, but now I have a skull on my bicep. I'm not too sure what I'm gonna want to get on my wrist here yet. If you have any suggestions after seeing everything close up, comment some ideas for me, and I might even end up using some of your ideas to fill in the rest of my hand here. So let me know in the comments below what would be some cool ideas that would work well into my sleeve for my hand. Okay, cool, so that's been it for this guy. As I get more of myself filled in the future, I'll be sure to post some more videos for you guys. If you want updates on what I'm up to, when I'm getting tattoos, when I'm posting new videos, what covers are coming out next, all that kind of stuff, make sure to check out my social media pages. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. There are links to those guys on the screen for you right now, as well as in the description below. If you have not subscribed, please make sure to subscribe, and please make sure to turn on your post notifications. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you guys soon with something new.